Hello, my name's John Thorne from Thorny Motorsport, and in this horrible wet weather we have here, I'm doing a special video. Primarily because in the last 6 weeks we've sold 14 McLarens. Now that's pretty unheard of. Well, actually no, we do quite a lot in total. We do about 70, 80 a year, but 26 has started very quickly with 14 cars sold. And what I have noticed is that only one of those 14 cars is a 12C, and that's a Spider. Now, most of the time when people come down here looking for cars, they either have a very good idea what they want, or they're very open-minded. They just want a McLaren, and they're limited on budget or what they want to do. And I go through different models about good and bad and difference of these. And it comes down to the fact that most people want to get the best McLaren for the money. And I'm very open-minded about it. I like all the models, they're all great, they all have their benefits. But something has cropped up in the UK market, and again, this may be specifically UK, is that the 12C Coupe is becoming overlooked, which means it's becoming the best McLaren you can buy for your money right now. Now, I normally don't pick a car that says best over other ones, but because the way the market has moved, the 12C Coupe now has exposed itself as being the best one to buy. Now, I've got hundreds of cars here, as you can see, and the cars that we sell, we have the same flat rate. I don't care what you buy. For the majority, everyone has an idea what they want to have, but they do ask my opinion, and now I'm sharing a bit more formally. 12C is by far and away the best value to McLaren you can buy. I've got a few here, 12C, 720s, everything else here. But these, in this horrible wet day, are representing now the best car McLaren you can buy for your money. You can pick up a 12C Coupe for between 75 and 85,000 quid. So around 80 grand, late 70s. They're an absolute steal at that. Okay, you're talking about BMW M4s and M3s, that kind of money. Yeah, it's simply better than that. Now, why? Why do I like a 12C in comparison? Forget the money side of it, why? Let me go through some specific details. It's a super series car, okay? So it means it has active aero, active suspension, all the toys, higher power, better build quality, okay? They were higher price of car. They were 200 thousand pounds new, okay? Compared to a sports series, it's 160,000 pounds new. That's 40, 50 grand difference. Now, before I go any further, if you like a look at the sports series cars, stop now, all right? There's no point me telling you how good the 12C is, you like the good of the car. Because even though I can tell you how good the car is, if you prefer to look at another McLaren, ignore what I'm saying, it's meaningless, okay? Go what you like to look of. However, if you're looking at the cars from their technical abilities, the 12C is an absolute bargain now. So, active aero, active suspension, okay? Also, I'm doing another video about it. The best ride of any McLaren, and I'm including 720s and 750s, somebody else there. So the best ride, the most comfortable ride is the 12C. It is better than a 650. It is better than the 720. It is better than the Sports Series. It's a super series car. It is by far and away the most compliant ride of all the models, okay, period, okay? Also, accumulators. We change roughly twice the number of accumulators on a 650 compared to 12C. The different accumulator. The first accumulator made by McLaren is significantly more long-term than a 650. They still last 4 or 5 years, but I've got 12Cs out there with accumulators on that 8, 9 years old and still don't need replacing. Okay, so they do sometimes need replacing, obviously, but the combination of a really good accumulator and the better ride of the car means a 12C is very overlooked, especially those people doing long-distance tours. You're talking about comfort here. Now, I know the reason why the 12C is overlooked. People are thinking the older car must be more problems, more expensive to run, therefore get a younger car, less issues. Now, it's true, the 12C now, 2011, 2012, is a 12, 13-year-old car. But the fact of it is, the fact it's older does not mean it has more problems. Exact opposite. In actual fact, compared to some of the models, it has less problems. I mentioned about the accumulators being better and not being replaced as much. But things like gearboxes and engine issues, they're no more prevalent in a 12C than they are in 650s or other super series cars, and less prevalent than in sports series. The other thing to consider is, whilst there are corrosion issues with all the models, the 12C doesn't have it as much as the sports series cars, or even the 720s. Because the majority of the problems on corrosion are on the aluminium panels. It does still affect the composite panels, but less so. So it's more the sports series cars and the 720s, the aluminium panels, have more corrosion. You get less on McLaren on 12Cs. It's still there, but less of it. Secondly, you don't get the issues that are very model specific. Door hinges, they're classic of cracking on the sports series, unaffected. 12Cs not affected at all. Things like thermostats that fail on sports series. You rarely get a thermostat fail on a 12C. Again, there are still issues with the cars as you expect any car, but the fact is the numbers of issues a 12C gets do not actually reflect its old age. It belies it in actual fact, it's better. So most of the 12Cs we look after have less of the same problems going through in terms of their life than some of the younger model cars. So it actually means they're a better buy, not a worse buy. Second thing, looks. Now, I'm not going to argue one car and look. I prefer the 12C. The front end of 12C, for me, just looks more natural. Okay, I do get why people like 650, but for me, it's a better looking car in our good. It's simpler, it's smoother, the lines are less detail, there's less fidgetiness about the McLaren 12C, especially in coupe form. Also, it's still the first McLaren. It still has some cachet for that. So for me, as being the first McLaren, if you can get one with swipe doors, even better. The swipe door's a wonderful bit of kit. You know, we've never replaced one, ever. That's 11 years worth of door switches being replaced. Never done a swipe door on a 12C. They're that good. So I think if you can find yourself a nice 12C coupe, you're going to get yourself in at mid-70s, say. And yes, there are cars out there on the market at high 60s. Most of them are shit, so please don't buy on those unless you get inspected first. Doesn't mean they're all shit. There may be some good ones there, but please get them checked. Because the older the car is, you're looking at a 10, 11-year-old car, there are going to be problems there you've got to deal with, okay? Corrosion, for example. Yes, there will be corrosion, but it's no greater or worse than the later cars, okay? So I really think it's very rare for me to sit back and say, pick that car. But pick that car. Frankly, the 12C coupe for me is now at the point in time that even I'm considering adding it to our fleet, and I'm not a car collector. I've got a 570, I've got a 720. I'm now tempted to get back to 12C again in coupe form, because at mid-70s, it's a bargain. So I think you should show that. All right, thought it might be useful. Please, any comments? If I'm wrong, please tell me. Happy being told I'm wrong. It's much fun that way. But otherwise, I think it's worth having a look and get an idea of what you can get for 70, 80 grand on McLaren now and get a good, reliable car. All right, cheers.